Well, hello everybody, Vicky here. I hope you are all well and enjoying your day or evening or week or whatever you're judging it on. Anyway, I hope everything is going really well for you all. So I'm doing a little bit more work in Hope, the journal, and I've used a commercial, it's actually an invitation envelope, and the way it presents when you buy it is it's got like a printed vellum sheet that slips in where I'm just putting that little paper and some acetate in there. So I'm making a window out of it. I've glued it into the book, and I debated about whether or not I'd have a front and back pocket, but I thought because of the lace work I might just leave it as one. So the piece of paper that you can see me getting sized up there isn't obviously the one that you can see now that I've put into place. I've decided that the one that was in there was just a little bit too pale, and this is one of my favourite papers. I'm thinking it might be a case craft, but I could be wrong on that. So I'm just using one of the big butterflies that I've got, and I've already done the feelers. I've done it with my cotton, the glue stiffened cotton that you've seen me do. So I'm just figuring out what I'm going to mat it on, and I thought that trim there might be nice, but I've decided to go with just a little bit of coffee dyed cheese. I was going to say cheesecake, cheesecloth. I'm sure we're all about to do that every now and again, aren't we? So anyway, I'm just cutting out a little bit of cheesecloth to put underneath the butterfly. Now what I've decided to do as well is I'm actually gluing this down onto the paper, and there's a double layer there, so just be careful when you're doing that. When we dye it, I don't know about you, I tend to just put it all in, unravel it, and I tend to forget about that second layer that has to be unfolded. So just and that's what I'm using there is that's a little knitting needle stop that we've been putting on our glue because it's silicone. If you've got something that you just want to sort of like press into the glue, but it's only very, very fine and open weave like the cheesecloth, just press it down with that little silicone top, and it just helps to make a grip and it doesn't get stuck to our fingers. So that's all I've done with that, and like I was saying, I've decided to put this on the paper, then I'm going to slide the acetate in over the top of the butterfly. I thought that it would just reduce the risk of it getting caught because it is quite a big butterfly, and yeah, I just thought that would be the way I'd do it. And the other thing too is because there's a sheet of acetate going in on the top of that to make it look like a frame, I wasn't 100% sure how the glue would hold, and thinking that maybe my little embellishment might fall off it. So I've chosen to do it that way, and this way I don't have to worry. So I'm just sort of like getting it sort of tizzied up a little bit, looking at the way that I want it to, and snipping off the ends of the feelers as they need. Just fussing about, that's one of my biggest issues I have to deal with. I fuss too much. Sometimes it's better just to put something down, leave it on there, and then walk away, job done. But it was a little bit tricky to get this sort of like slotted in behind all that lace work. As you can see, it's quite lacy, it's quite open, and it is really very flexible. So just need a little bit of patience to be able to thread it on down through there. But the acetate does slip in a little bit easier. But we've just got to get it over the butterfly and in between all those little lace cutouts. And what I've done is because there's going to be no pressure put on these three sides where it's been glued in, the pocket has been glued in, I've opted not to worry about trying to glue it down anywhere other than at the top. And at the top it's very important that you get it pretty close to the top for both layers, both the paper to the acetate, then the acetate to the top of the frame of the pocket, because if you don't, you're going to be forever having trouble with pulling whatever you've got in that pocket in and out. It's going to want to be going down between the layers, and if it starts to go down between the outside and the acetate, all that lacework's going to end up getting buckled and possibly ripped. So all I'm doing there is just running that tag along the top edge to make sure that I haven't glued any of the pocket to the page. Another idea would be is to just put a little bit of non-stick baking paper between what you're gluing and the page, but it's okay if you're just mindful of it. Now, I've gone to the back and I don't know what happened to the footage of me decorating. Once again, this is a commercial invitation pocket that I have a lot of. I got them as a job lot with a package I bought off Marketplace. So these are the pockets that you buy, and you can slip an invitation in where I've got that floral journaling card just in there, the pocket there. So I've glued it down, and like I said, you can see I have decorated it. It's pretty simple. It's very simple layering that I've done, and just looking at it, you'll be fine to know what I did. So I was debating about what I was going to put in this envelope. Once again, trying to remember to keep the bulk down a little bit where I can, just to allow me to have a few different elements. If the elements I've got in here aren't too bulky, it just means that we can have more. So I've got the sewing machine out, and I've just sewn around and along some of the edges. You can't really see when I'm sewing because my camera's overhead. I need to get used to like flipping it to the one that's a little bit lower and looks across the bench, but not to worry. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking some ruffle, and I'm going to be just doing a little bit of hand stitching on it. And there's more rain coming. We've had a wet day, so it's pouring again now. We don't seem to be able to get away from the rain. We don't seem to be able to get a builder or a plumber out here to help us with our issues with my room in rain either. But that's a whole other story. There must be plenty of work around for tradies at the moment, that's all I can say. But anyway, getting back to what we're doing here, I am stitching a button on to a little bit of ruffle, and I'm doing a cross stitch and a couple of French knots. Just in a contrast thread. I've used the green on this one. So that's one. So I think I've got like two French knots and one cross stitch in the middle and the button up the top. And the other one that I'm going to do, which is the mate to this one, is I'm doing it with the orange tone thread, and I'm going to do some hand stitching on it, and I believe I will be putting the button in the middle and doing a cross stitch at each end of it. So that's, no, I didn't. I decided, no, there it is. That's right. I didn't do it in the middle, so you can see what I've done there. And I'm going to be gluing them down with my favourite bottle of glue, the fabric glue. It and I have a love-hate relationship, I'm afraid. It's getting just a little bit too tricky for me to use. But we still can, so soldiering on. So I'm just putting those little ruffles down, and I just thought the little bit of hand stitching and the button just gave it a little bit of interest. Just trying to be a little bit different and not having everything the same. So I'm deciding that, yep, the button needs to go up the top, which I'm so glad I decided that, because it just wouldn't look right, would it? So that's those two done and sorted. And now I'm getting the sewing machine up, and I'll just be doing some more sewing I'm not 100% sure. I must have sewn around all the 3x3, I think they are, or 3x4 little journaling cards that came out the back of a Tim Holtz paper pad. I've sewn around them, and I've sewn some lace onto the bottom of them, but I don't think I have sewn around these journaling cards. And if I did it all around, and I've wanted, yeah, it looks like I've already stitched it around, and I just wanted to do a little bit more stitching so it showed out more. And then I'm running some gold paste between the stitches and the edge of the card, so I'm just trying to get that on evenly. This stuff and I end up always fighting with each other. I end up with a heck of a mess, so I'm using the wet wipe just to try and smooth it over a little bit better and get it nice and even all the way down. So I did a zigzag along there, and then I did a wonky straight stitch as well. I just wanted to highlight that side, I guess to kind of balance the other side that's got that bit of ruffle on it. It looked a little bit like heavy and a little bit lopsided when I put that ruffle on. That's why I've come up with this idea, just to have something on the other side that doesn't have any bulk in it, but just evens up the card, so it doesn't look like it's going to sort of tip over because it's too heavy. So that was the way I saw that, and that was my solution to that, and not being a problem anymore. We'll put the trusty gold away. I don't think I've ever gone through so many wet wipes, and it's because of that gold. So here I am. I've decided what I was going to put in this pocket, which were these two journaling cards, and those two up the top with the lace sewn across the bottom of it. But you can see that I'm struggling to get everything in, and it's a little bit more difficult to be able to close the flap. So after doing all that, I decided to leave it in because these journaling cards will be used in this journal somewhere, just not inside these pockets. So what I've elected to do is I've got 3 different pieces of scrapbooking paper that I thought the colours went with what the journal is, and I've put them all together, and I'm going to be making 3 journaling cards. So this is just what I'm doing now is just cutting them down to size. So once I've had them cut down to size, I am putting some coffee dyed paper on the back of them, and they will be journaling cards, all 3 of them. So that's a lovely bonus piece of journaling space. And also too, if you want to be showing people your journal, you can put some of the more personal things that you want to journal on these cards because they're inside that pocket. So you get the best of both worlds, being able to journal personal stuff and still be able to show people, if you want to, your journal. So I've got the 3 of them all together now, so now I have to decide what I'm going to do. I will be inking around them. For some reason, all of a sudden I decided I'd put white splatters over them, and yep, far too much paint, far too much water, just especially with the water, because I got a little bit impatient and tipped some out of my bottle. But because of the amount of paint that I'd put on there, it's not too bad. So you can see I've got a slurry there, but it's a crazy amount. All I need is to do it on 3 journaling cards. Just getting that right. And I think because it's watered down a little bit, I've decided to do my splatters a little bit heavier than what I normally would, simply because I think some of these are going to fade a little bit because there's too much water ratio to paint. But I am pleased with the results. So I've done the splatters on all three the same way, and I've dried them off with the heat gun, and I don't know what's happened with me with such a clean desk, but anyway, we'll embrace it. So I'm just going around and putting the gold around. Because I've pretty much done it with everything I've done so far in this journal, it's just going to be a constant throughout, so everything sort of like comes together. So while I'm waiting for that gold to dry properly around the cards, I'm deciding on which little girl sticker I'm going to have on this page. I've been debating about what to do with this page, both the front and the back. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a like a notebook to it, so that you can lift it up and use the pages, and also not cover them up completely, because they really are quite nice, and they're nice and bright, and that's what hope is all about, bright and hopeful and spring, I guess, as I'm in autumn, but that's okay. I'm in southeast Queensland, so autumn and winter don't become bleak monochromatic landscapes here. So the changing of the seasons isn't as dramatic as other places in the world. So I've decided on this little lady to put down there with her, carrying her bunch of flowers, and I don't know, I just thought that it looked nice having that little girl at the top of the page at the front, so I thought I'd just replicate it here towards the back. So that one's nice and stuck now. I'm just going to be checking to see if they're dry, and it looks like they are. Looks like everything's okay for us to go ahead. And I've decided to keep these simple. I'm going to do some stamping on them. So I've stamped on some faux stitching, which is what you can see on there already. And that stamp with the faux stitching is from Lemon Creations. Margaret Iser or Asia or something, I'm sorry. But Lemon Creations anyway, it's one of hers. So I'm just going through, and I believe I only just show you one of them getting stamped, because they're all stamped the same way, and you'll see what they are here now. So I've got a mushroom and a bee, and I can't quite figure out what the third one is there. So now what we're doing is we're just putting them in the pocket, and that about sees everything that we've done for this session. So I'm really hoping that you are enjoying watching Hope come together. I am thoroughly enjoying it. It really is a good thing to do. So on that note, I will say, be kind to you, be kind to the person standing next to you, and bye for now.